Welcome to the New Dentist Study Club podcast. My name is Dr. Sanj Mohanta. We're going to learn about clinical management, practice management, and the emotional management of dentistry. Let's learn how to be happier in dentistry. Let's go. Thank you to our sponsors, Altum Dental Lab Group and RDT Dental Lab in Toronto. Hello, everyone. So grateful for you to join us again. We have a very special podcast because we have Dr. Peter Fritz, who's a periodontist and expert on artificial intelligence, joining us to tell us everything we need to know about AI in dentistry. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you so much. That's quite an introduction and quite an ask today. So I'm not sure there are any experts in AI. We don't know how this is going to play out. But
we think of you. Canadians think of you as an expert in artificial intelligence. You just did a webinar for the Royal College of Dental Surgeons of Ontario in Canada, and 1,400 dentists in the province tuned in. So we definitely think of you as an expert.
Thank you. And I think everyone woke up well rested. So after the talk.
Yeah, true.
So
you're too humble. But Peter, tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm just a country dentist. I'm a periodontist in Fonthill, Ontario. I work with an amazing team. The team includes a number of dental hygienists, number of assistants. I have a fantastic admin team. I have some project coordinators that are focused on AI. We have a dermatologist, a general surgeon, some nurses. So we have artists, we have some adventurers. So it's just a conglomeration of I lead this team of just really, it's an eclectic group of learners, and we all are aligned with the mission of we want to innovate the collaborative specialty of periodontics and redefine the patient experience. So, and to redefine the patient experience, you have this tool called AI, which is coming out, and it's come out a number of years ago. And when I saw this about 3 years ago, I just couldn't resist in trying to figure out how this fits into our practice. So it's been really an amazing journey. Yeah.
I love the fact that you're focused on the patient experience and learning and having an interdisciplinary team.
Yeah, it's too easy to be looking at people like a treatment plan, and that's just not what we're doing. We can use we can use AI to enhance our compassionate care with our patients. And how we do that is we use our head, heart, and hands. Our head, AI helps us process things and helps us solve things a lot faster than we ever could before. With our hands, it allows us to provide this gentle care in ways that is a little bit more touchless, and nobody's upset about touchless dentistry, right? Yes. So there's less steps and less things, but really it's the heart. It's the ability to focus in on the patient and, let the chart notes write themselves. Let that happen on its own, where you're going to review it, but you're not going to be as worried in terms of sitting with the patient and then typing off to the side while you're talking to them and just hoping that there's a pause. Now we can use AI tools to have a conversation, and the technology will faithfully transcribe it. So that we can use that to make even stronger record keeping than we've ever had before.
Oh, that's great. I like how you said head, heart, and hands, because when you said that, I felt like I just got like a warm hug from you.
Oh, that's so nice. Yeah. It's been our mantra the entire time we've been in practice. Yeah.
Okay.
We've always been following this principle. And technology only adds to it. It doesn't subtract to it. It doesn't replace it. It just augments it. It just gives you the opportunity to see it differently, and just thrilled to have it that way. Yeah.
So tell us, Peter, how do you use AI in your practice?
Well, the question is, how would we not use it?
Really?
How do we use AI in our practice? We use it every day, all day long, and I can't imagine practicing it or practicing without having AI tools. So AI is really just the synonym is a tool. It's just something that helps you do something else, to do a task. So there are really simple things that it can do, like sort your Spotify playlist, right? So
Mm.
that's something that, that doesn't really need to be regulated too much, and
Mhm.
everybody uses it for that. But how we use it for a little bit higher level things is, for example, for an email reply or an insurance question from an insurance provider. It can help craft the reply. If you're having to write a newsletter, if you're having to write some patient information, some brochures, it will help with that. It can help proof reports that go out, which is pretty helpful. We have it after we do our chart notes. We can go in and ask the program, what do you need to make a stronger chart note? So
Mm.
it'll prompt you to say, well, it would be stronger if you would have included this, this, and this. And I'm like, great, now add this, this, and this. And you say, what else do you need to make a stronger chart note? And it'll continue prompting you for that. And you can build this chart note very, very quickly. From the chart note, you can create a brochure for the patient and say, listen, this brochure is for this 65-year-old French-speaking lumberjack in my chair. And we're talking about an implant. And now this brochure is crafted specifically for him. And it really doesn't cost anything or take very much time at all, right? Which is amazing from before. Whereas, you would have to have generic handouts for patients, but now it can capture what we've had in our conversation and pass that along. Also for diagnostic imaging, which we've worked with all of the diagnostic imaging programs. Essentially, they're young still. They're in progress. They haven't reached maturity yet, but they have the ability to augment how you're going to see things. It doesn't replace a clinician. It doesn't replace the clinician, but it helps highlight things that maybe you should look at, and you may or may not agree to it. It's kind of like in dental school where we had the answer keys to, like, we remember all the tests we wrote,
Yes.
the package of tests that came from the year ahead, and
Yeah.
you'd through and you'd
We
write.
got from the library. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you'd look at it and go like, yeah, all right, well, let's look at this test, and you do the test, the sample test, and then you look at the answer key that they have, and you're like, this isn't right, right? That doesn't seem right. But it's only because you have the expertise that you're able to say this isn't right. If you came in from another program, let's say geography, and had to write the same test and you had the answer key, you wouldn't know it was wrong, right?
Yeah.
But because you have some expertise in that subject, you're able to determine if the output is correct or not. Yeah. So
Okay.
that's
So,
another way we use it. Yeah.
and do you use any other ways? So you
Yeah.
mentioned chart notes, patient communication, insurance
Diagnostic.
communication with the insurance companies, radiographs.
Yeah. Every sort of task that you think about, you have to come at it with an AI mindset. So you have like an instrument in the Steri Center. So you take a picture of it using ChatGPT, it tells you what the instrument is, right? It tells you what it's used for. It tells you where you can order it. How valuable that is to the young assistant that's just joining you. And you've got all this equipment there, and you're just taking a picture of it and saying, this is what you're looking at. This is what this is how it works. So you use it to build training modules for your team, for onboarding modules. You can use it to help write consent forms. It can help modify consent forms or employee manuals. It can look at all these different things that you had to get created before, but now you can use this to help at least create the first draft of it. And then it's still up to you to make that call to say this is what we had. But before you'd be relying on templates that really weren't, maybe they weren't specific to your situation, but now you can use that. I'll give you another example of just how we use AI, the AI mindset, how you change things. You notice there's a canoe up behind me there.
Mm.
There are a couple of canoes here actually in our learning stream. I'm just going to spin this around for you. This is my teacher.
Yeah, what a fantastic, for those of you who are listening on Spotify, like Peter is in his learning center at his office and he has canoes and geese up on the ceiling, maps all over the world. Like it's beautiful, peaceful room. Yeah, I love the canoes.
So the canoe that I just showed you, I paddled across Lake Ontario for a fundraiser for the Build Your Smile Foundation last summer. Thought it
Mm.
was a good idea at the time, but we left from St. Catharines to Cherry Beach in Toronto. It took us 8.5 hours to cross the lake, and that was really cool. In the end, I'm left with this canoe, and I'm like, what are we going to do with this canoe that was generously donated by Novacraft? So I'm like, well, I've got the precedent of hanging canoes in my office. So I'm here on a Sunday afternoon, much like you are sometimes when you're at your practice, because most trips take you to, most family trips even take you to the trip to the office to do something. Uh, but I'm here alone on a Sunday afternoon with a 100-pound canoe, and I need to hang it up in my ceiling. So I'm like, how do I do this? So I asked Chat. I said, I give it a prompt, and the prompt is you assign it a persona. So I tell it, you are a professor of civil engineering at the University of Toronto. I'm a struggling C-minus student in engineering, and I need help hanging a canoe, a 100-pound canoe in on a 12-foot ceiling by myself. How do I do this? Right? But before you tell me what else you need to know. And then it'll reply.
Ah,
It replied something like, "How heavy is the canoe? What equipment do you have? What's your budget?" And so in the end, it said you need a pulley system. And I'm like, "Great. So can you draw the pulley system for me?" So it drew the pulley system. And I'm like, "Okay, where do I get this from? I'm close to a Lowe's and a Home Depot." And they were able to pull the SKUs on the Home Depot and say, well, at the Home Depot, you need to buy and this rope. And then I went and they didn't have the aisle number yet, which was a little bit annoying, but it was able to
okay.
tell you exactly, where you could acquire the equipment. So I put that up by myself and I was able to hang the canoe according to its instructions. Just phenomenal, this AI
That's
mindset.
genius. I
Yeah,
just want to point out there are three things that you mentioned during that chat GPT prompt that I don't do. And I'm going to do it from now on. Number one, you told chat who they are. Like you gave them a persona.
right.
So you said, hey, you're like a physical engineer.
Yeah.
Number two, you told chat what level you're at.
Hmm.
Like, you're not very handy. So give me something simple. Number
Yeah,
three, you asked, what other information do you need?
exactly. Yeah. So you give it a persona, you tell it exactly what it is, and that frames it, and it tells you which knowledge of part of human knowledge it needs to go after. You tell it exactly how you need the information. Do you need it in point forms? Do you need it in a very detailed
Oh, okay.
paragraph? Do you need it for a level of a grade 7 student? Do you need it for a level of
Mm,
somebody who's, can't comprehend things very easily? And then you also do this self out this test on it and say, what else do you need to know, or what do you think I'm trying to ask you to do? And which is different from a search engine. This is not a search engine,
yes.
right? So, and that gives you a much richer answer.
Okay. Now you mentioned that you do so much in your office that involves AI. What specific AI programs do you use for all that? Like, for example, you start off by saying use it to respond to emails and insurance documents. So, what program do you use for that?
So we would use Claude for that, and
Okay.
it's a pro version of Claude. The reason we use Claude is because it doesn't use your training data to it doesn't use your data to train its systems, right? So if you have a free version of Claude or of ChatGPT, there's a risk that training data, that data that you're giving it, we're not exactly sure where that goes. So, and is that
Mm,
being used to train the system? So you never want to put any personal health information in there. So you
okay.
want to keep the information as generic as possible. But once you get into some enterprise versions of Chat and Claude, then you have some more security. You've got
Mm,
some guardrails in there where you can use more sensitive business information. I still wouldn't put patient health information in, but you can put more information in and not worry that it's going to go places.
okay.
There's a program called Pi. I don't know if you've heard of Pi before. Yeah.
Yes.
So Pi is really great for role playing. So you can have your reception team use it to train on with scenarios where you're dealing with an angry patient, or you're dealing with a very demanding patient, or you're dealing with someone who's is trying to extract information that you don't want to give them. So you can set it up as a role play, and because of the empathy and the emotional um, the it sort of imitates the emotions. It's a lot stronger to have that conversation with something like Pi or Yodely to practice these things. So
Oh, I like that. So Claude, Pi, Yodely. How about for chart notes? I hate doing chart notes. So
yeah,
I am excited to use AI. So tell us what you use.
there's a great Canadian program called Scribeberry. So Scribeberry is in the medical domain. It's a Canadian venture between a group from Toronto and a group from, I think, from Alberta. And so it records with the patient's consent, it'll record the conversation and it'll turn that into a first round of chart notes. And it'll also not record, it's not like a dictation program where you have to go and follow the dictation. It actually will sort the conversation into specific areas of a template that you've created. So this is really handy, especially if you have someone who's going on and on about the hockey game or talking about their vacation and that. You don't need that in the chart notes, but you do need it. It will solidify, or it'll capture the other parts of their conversation, of your conversation that's salient to the clinical record. So I'm using Scribeberry for that. There's also a thing called Heidi Health, which is another one. And there are lots of scribe programs around, and I think they're just going to leapfrog each other as time goes on.
Okay.
But right now, that's what we've been using.
You said Scribeberry
Scribeberry, yes.
and
Yeah.
then Heidi Health.
Heidi Health is another one.
Okay.
Yes.
And are they Canadian?
I'm certain that Scribeberry is. Heidi Health, I'm not sure. I haven't used that nearly as much as the other. The other things, we're using some imaging software. So for radiographic analysis, there are many programs out there. I was just came from back from IDS in Cologne, where they had
Yeah.
2,000 uh, different vendors, and went to visit all the AI programs that do radiography. So the leader right now, I think, is probably Diagnocat in the number of things that it can capture. It's a very promising program. It can do 2D and 3D. There are other programs that like Overjet and Pearl and Velmety, which also are excellent. And the Velmety, what it can do is it puts together a really emotionally sensitive handout for the patient. So, this is something you don't typically get with a full mouse series that you take on a patient or Panorex, but you give this patient a handout now about exactly uh, what it's picked up after you've approved it. So I really like the connection, the soft connection that it has to the output for the patient, again, to enhance the patient experience.
Can you mention that program again?
It's
Vendetti?
Velmety is, I believe,
Velmety. Okay.
that's what it's
Velmety.
called. Let me
And
just,
does it matter if the software we use is Canadian or not? Like when it comes to things like regulation and privacy?
yeah, for sure it matters. Yeah,
Okay.
you want to make sure that, for years we've been really concerned about where the data is kept, right? And people are worried that it's kept on servers outside of Ontario.
Hmm.
And before we said, like, why does it matter? Like, what does that really
Yeah.
matter? Like, who cares? Right? This is a rule that just seems to be um yeah, it seems to be nonsense. It's just cramping my life, right? But isn't it important that our patients' health information is kept within the confines of the province or of the country now,
Yes.
given the political instability? Because if somebody wants to, if this is being stored somewhere else in an area where the privacy laws aren't as strong, or if someone decides on a bad day that they want to do an executive order to potentially, unlock this, all of a sudden it exposes all of this personal health information, which is not good, right? That's bad.
Okay.
So
So
these
we
are
should pick programs that are Canadian.
absolutely that have been
Okay.
Health Canada approved, and that can assure you that the storage of the data is kept within in our borders. So
And with regards to privacy, do we have to tell the patient that we're using AI?
yeah, so these are really new times now, right? So I think right now we need to, when computers came out, when we went from, when I started my office, I had 4 computers in the office. But before that, to have a computer was a luxury in like the 1987, 1988. Your practice probably didn't have a computer, right? You did everything by phone. So, were we telling patients at that point, you know what, we're going to be using a computer for your information now, right? It seems really
Yes.
ridiculous that you would have to disclose that. So I think right now we should be using for different risk parts. I think we need to specify that. In the EU, the EU Act has, and we don't have to follow the EU Act, but
Mhm.
they stratify AI tools not by fear but by risk. So there are things that have unacceptable risk, which you couldn't use, like autonomous implant surgery, right? So that doesn't make sense for anybody. But if you're using a tool that helps with a diagnosis or it enhances a diagnosis or helps with a treatment plan, I think we need to disclose that to the patient that, this is something that we're using to aid it. For something that's, creating a patient brochure or creating a chart note, or augmenting a chart note, that I don't think needs to be disclosed. But the fact that you're recording the conversation with the patient, that's new now, right? That's something that we hadn't have before. So in our office, we have a sign in the reception area. There's a conversation with the assistant and the patient on the walk to the room where they discuss that this before the area is being recorded, before the conversation is being recorded. And then they have the right to say, no, I don't want this used, or I want to learn more, I want to talk it over, I want to think it over. And but right now, most patients are just really happy that they're getting more focused time with the clinicians that we have here.
You see any drawbacks to using AI?
Yeah, there's lots. Oh yeah.
Okay, let's talk.
Yeah. So it adds a layer of complexity that we didn't have before. It adds change to something that was like, okay, this worked really well before. Why do we need to change this? Right. So there's an additional expense to this thing. These programs aren't free, right? So there's an additional cost to it. So the cost, the complexity, it takes time to adapt to this. You go through this storming phase before you start norming and it starts to perform. So it's a hassle for the team to kind of just like why are we having to do this? Like, it was working fine before. Nobody asked for this. Why are you pushing me like this? Right. So, but I'm of the opinion that we need to make our practice ready for our patients 10 years from now, right? So
Yeah.
we're going to need to have this operating. So it is quite painful to be at the tip of the spear here, because there's so much that doesn't work. And it's just the curiosity of having it work. And now when I do a radiographic review of a full mouth series, it's much faster than it has ever been. It's much more accurate, and I feel it's more complete than what I was doing 3 years ago. So these are good things. Getting your team on board is another part of it, right? So it's your team has certain skills and they're comfortable doing certain things, and now learning about using AI for these applications, this is cumbersome. So of course it costs time to train them and to make sure everyone's comfortable with this and sees the benefit of it. So we've had staff retreats where we've introduced this, and um, one of the best things that we had with someone who was very, very negative about using this. And we made the example of, okay, well, why don't we use it to plan a vacation, a pretend vacation? So, or a real vacation. So using this, gave the prompt that you are the most experienced travel agent on TripAdvisor. I'm planning a trip to Dublin in May. Um, Please, can you help me create a packing list specific to this? Can you please tell me, the highlights? Can you tell me which order to go to see these things, and tell me some restaurants to go to? So this person who was very against this before saw the merits of having this put together in just a few seconds, and is now quite a fan of using this, at least for planning vacations, I guess. So
Oh, yeah, that's a great way. Say like, look how it's helped you. It can help us in the office too.
that's right.
Now, are any of your administrative staff worried that they're going to be replaced by an AI assistant?
No, I don't think so at
Okay.
all. In fact, I think quite the opposite. I think it's going to replace people, but these the people are going to be more skillful. They're going to be more irreplaceable later on, and they're going to be more expensive. So,
Mm,
so I think that I'm fortunate I have a team that's used to disruption and change.
okay.
So they know that they need to be empowered with new skills. They know that there's a reason for that I'm asking them to do this. And I think once well, many of them have captured these skills already, and it makes them just much more valuable to stay here. So, and for me to invest in them is necessary to make this work. So yeah, you develop a workforce that's smarter than before, that's more efficient.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So
Do you use an AI assistant?
Like a real assistant, or do I?
Like administrative assistant to answer the phones, to schedule appointments.
No, we haven't done that yet. That technology is there, but as a specialty office, the complexity of what we get asked and the depth of the conversations often are require a human. You could use it to triage. So a thing like a really good use for an assistant would be if you had to know what the hours were of the place,
Mm.
where are you located? Simple questions like that. Those are really good questions. Unfortunately, one of the popular questions is, "What's your fax number?" Now, that's a terrible question in 2025, but you're using AI to solve that? What? Please don't do that. Yeah.
Many of our listeners are associates, not practice owners, so they can't buy DiagnoCat. They can't buy like Scribeberry. So, what are some ways that new dentists can use AI?
Yeah, there's just get good at prompt engineering.
Mm.
Spend this time learning how to prompt and how to extract the most possible value out of ChatGPT or Claude. One of the things that you can do is you can summarize lab data. You have a lab report, you need it summarized, it can do that for you. You have a paper that's uh, that you want to read and you want to understand it very well. So use chat to summarize the paper for you initially before you read through and take that round of it. Use it for your email correspondence, right? So
Yeah, that's also right.
if I was an associate, you know what I'd do? I would put my LinkedIn profile through Claude and ask it to give me a grade. I'd say, you are the best HR wizard on the planet to place dental associates in leading positions. Here is my CV, or here is my LinkedIn profile. Please give it a grade. And then it'll give it a grade. And then you'll say, okay, well, this is really good. It's a B plus. What do I need to do to make this an A plus? And it'll give you some suggestions. And you'll say, please go ahead and do that. Right? So if I was using that in ChatGPT, then I would take my finished product and I'd plop that into Claude and ask the same question. And I'd say, you are the top headhunter for dental associates. Give them your new, just recently polished LinkedIn profile or CV and say, give this a grade now, right? And if it confirms that it's an A plus, chances are that you've got a really good uh, version of promoting yourself. So
That's excellent. Yeah, to find the ideal associateship.
yeah,
Oh, I love that. That's great. This has been so insightful, Peter. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
I just want to thank you for what you're doing for dentistry.
Oh, thank
This
you,
is
Peter.
really using a modern platform to spread really good information, to build relationships for really busy people, and to do this in such a condensed and wonderful way. You should be congratulated for that. So thank
Oh,
you
thank
for
you,
what you're doing.
Peter.
Yeah.
Oh, and I appreciate that, Peter. And how can the audience reach you?
Yeah, so I'll give you my fax number. No, I'm kidding. uh, my the best way is you can go to my website, drfritz.ai. That's the easiest way. My email is peter@drpeterfritz.com, which is another way to reach it. So, but drfritz.ai would be probably the easiest way to keep in touch.
Thank you, Peter. I really enjoyed you sharing your head, your heart, helping us with our hands as well in dentistry. So I appreciate your time, Peter. And thank you to the audience for tuning in. Grateful to everyone. Bye.
Bye for now.
This podcast is sponsored by RDT Dental Laboratory, your full service dental lab in Toronto. RDT Dental Lab will help you grow your practice through education, predictable restorations, and high attention to your clinical needs and patient experience. Check them out at rdtdentallab.com. Thank you for listening to the New Dentist Study Club podcast. Listen to us on Spotify, watch us on YouTube, share and subscribe, and follow us on Instagram at New Dentist Study Club.